I am on the verge of rewatching Fantasy Island.
We're gonna remake that show.
Do you remember when they remade it with what's his name with Malcolm McDowell?
No,
they did it for there was a brief weird.
I mean, not Malcolm McDowell. I don't care. Like, you're fine.
There was a brief weird remake with Malcolm McDowell.
But
as Mr.
I
Rourke.
don't. I mean, like, because Chris McKenna and I are always talking about Fantasy Island because it's like there was this show, kids. It was prime time. It was as well regarded as Orange is the New Black. It was like we hadn't splintered our audience into a million pieces back then. It was like
Hold on a second. I feel that is a tad misleading. No one was talking about Fantasy Island the way they talk about Orange is the New Black.
I don't know if that's I mean, what? At the water cooler, just going, did you see it last night? Yes, I did.
They talked about it, but I would not say that it was held in the same regard as this.
I felt that Fantasy Island dealt with queer issues pretty much the same way.
Yeah.
You guys are talking about content and specificity of that stuff. I'm talking about culturally. Back then, there were 3 networks. The Incredible Hulk series won the Emmy for Best Dramatic Series.
It was a pretty dramatic show, in all fairness.
The winner of the best female lead in a dramatic series was The Bionic Woman.
It was before they changed the name of the category.
Wait, what is it? I
think it's Best Actress.
That's sexist.
It used to be best female lead.
Anyways, Fantasy Island was a show where a seaplane would land and a guy in a
we're going from the very beginning.
Yeah. They don't know. A guy in a white suit would come out because first what would happen is a little person, tattoo, would go, deplane, boss, deplane. And then the seaplane would land and it would be this title sequence for Fantasy Island. Fantasy Island is a resort where all your fantasies come true. Now, you're going to have a million questions in a second. Because a seaplane would land and 3 guest stars would get off. Same as the Love Boat, except on the Love Boat.
Jacqueline Bisset would get off and
Robert Wagner. And
Ernest Borgnine.
And Tattoo would go, who's that, boss? And then Mr. Rourke would say, Tattoo, that is William Salkind. He wishes he could be a concert pianist. So it was 3 people getting off the plane, but the resort was, and then so what would happen to Mr. Salkind is he would end up being a concert pianist, but he would also find out he didn't really want to be, right?
Yeah, everyone would learn a lesson. It was like they should have called it fucking O. Henry Island.
They should have called the Better Business Bureau because...
But everyone was satisfied at the end. Everyone was satisfied. At the end, they were all like, hey, guess what, Mr. Rourke? You pulled a fast one, but I gotta admit, you made me realize I didn't want to be a concert pianist after all.
Yeah.
So now I can stop thinking about it.
And then during the credits, which you wouldn't see, Mr. Rourke would pull up each aside and go, thank you so much. If you would be so kind as to tell no one about what goes on
please
here.
Please don't reveal the shocking
then
secret.
No one will ever come here because
exactly.
you may all be leaving and thinking, oh, thank you so much for showing me that my fantasy about being a gentleman in the 1800s led to my misogyny and I had to solve it and all this shit. But no one's going to come here for that.
Right. No one's coming to learn a lesson.
No one got their fantasy. Everyone got it right up.
Nobody ever got what they wanted, ever?
They got what they wanted and then some. Like, they all walked away going, I shouldn't have wanted that.
Nobody said...
Which is not what you get from Cheetos. Yes, it is.
Then there were things like... There would be a thing like some little nerdy dude was like, I want to be a big He-Man or whatever. I want to be like a cool guy. And then he would discover that the coolness was within him the whole time.
Right.
Which
means that, he had to clean the pool. It's like, when's my fantasy going to start? Don't you understand? When that guy picked on you, you stood up to him. What the fuck? I gave you like $5 million.
They never got into how much it cost to have your fantasy.
Here's the other thing.
It had to be expensive.
It had to be expensive.
So every establishing
they're hiring actors. They're putting people in alien costumes. Like all of this shit.
Prohibitively expensive.
Paul, costumes? Mr. Rourke was magical.
Well, now, hold on a second. In later seasons, it was revealed that Mr. Rourke had mysterious supernatural powers, and we learned this when he had to do battle with
the
Satan,
devil,
portrayed by who's your number one pick to play Satan? Evil incarnate.
Ricardo Montalban in a split screen, but
that would have been great. It actually would have made a lot more sense. But if you can't do that, let's say Ricardo, he's got terrible back pain. It's all he can do. This is actually true. It's all he can do to shoot like just Mr. Rourke's parts. Of course, you go out to Roddy McDowall. Roddy McDowall played Satan.
Well, that's good.
Okay, so you know more about Fantasy Island than I do. You're saying there was a Casino Royale era of Fantasy Island that was supernatural.
I think where they did not acknowledge that he had powers. It was just
all I remember is like two women that wanted to experience adventure or something, and they woke up in dinosaur times, and there were cavemen trying to ravish them, whatever the 80s term for it is. Right. And then Mr. Rourke came out of the woods going, "Ooga, booga, 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 booga," but he was like prosthetically done up like a caveman, and then he ripped off his mask, but he was Mr. Rourke, but it was like there were dinosaurs, I remember. Anyways, my question is this. When they would show, so they would cut their interstitials, they would go like, oh, that person's fantasy's going on. He's a concert pianist. Oh, that woman's in dinosaur times. Mr. Rourke and Tattoo would be walking, or somebody would be walking and go like, oh, yeah, fantasy, what an island. And in the background, there's all these people that aren't working there. They're customers too. They didn't get off the seaplane. What package did they get? And how much of their fantasies are happening? Are they just getting anal beads? Like they don't get greeted by Mr. Rourke. That's like Captain Stubing's table.
Maybe there's flights happening all day long. We just get to see one or two, like a week.
Well, Tattoo does say
the plane.
Right? He doesn't say one of the planes.
Yeah. Another plane, boss.
Also, why did
the 815? The 815.
Why is the briefing happening as the people are getting off of the plane? It's like, who's this one, boss? And it's like, I guess I should have told you this earlier.
Why does Tattoo have to know?
Also, Tattoo.
What's his job? Is his job just to alert him to the presence of the plane?
Listen, Tattoo, I put a folder in your room every morning. I don't even know why I go through the trouble of
boss,
trying to put these dossiers
Boss, what
together.
about my fantasy? Tattoo.
We all know.
Illiteracy does not count as a fantasy. You're just being lazy. But my fantasy is you learn to read.
There was an episode where Tattoo had to be a spaceman. He had to be a little Martian. And he had to put on green makeup and a bald cap and everything. So it's very unclear as to how this whole operation works. And I think that in the earlier, before Satan shows up, they tried to. I think the idea was that it was just mysterious. Like, how do you do this? He's like, wouldn't you like to know?
Yeah.
And that was
it's 9/11. It's 9/11.
Yes. Let's to plane. All right.
Oh, Paul.
What's happening?
Paul. We at Harmontown cheer when it's 9/11 on the clock. It's a rich history.
I'm glad to see that people never forget to do that.
Even a broken clock, it's 9/11 twice a day. But a broken clock remembers twice.
But 5 years from now, when McKenna and I do because we want to write this pilot, and this is not gold bullion idea either, and I'm sure you've come up with it as well. But like the ultimate workplace comedy is just like
what?
Yeah, you work at Fantasy Island.
Yeah.
And it's like
yeah.
It's just like you're the house, they clean the room, and it's like what the fucking lizard skin and it's like what's going on? It's like some people getting drawn in, and it's like you have to put on this wizard costume and.
What is that contract like? Like you must sign. There's got to be so many things that you're just signing away. Like, look, you. A vampire might attack you.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but you either want to work here or you don't.
I bet you find out if you talk to a worker at Fantasy Island long enough. I bet you find out that they're like there's like a tiny like dot like right under their hairline. And like there's some weird microsurgery that's happened where they've been lobotomized.
I bet you're right.
Or it's magic and they just forget when they fly out of the fog of Fantasy Island. But why does when the supernatural thing? Can you imagine the Fantasy Island writers' room? Because the showrunner was like, guys, we've been over this. The minute we jump that shark, people are gonna ask, why does Mr. Rourke need money? Like why is he running a business?
I think if you asked if you like created a Fantasy Island right now and you said, okay, I'm hiring. Does anybody want to live on an island and role play all day long? We've been to the Renaissance Fair. I think you could find people.
I bet there's 10 people here who want to do that.
It's high stakes LARPing, man. The people would be all over that shit. Oh, you got to be a concert piano teacher. I used to be a concert. They would love it. They'd freak out. You got to play an alien. You got to get killed by a vampire. That'd be the best.